Well, have you heard of Lin Wood? If you haven't, I'm going to tell you some things about him that you really need to know. And if you have, I've got stuff that you're going to be interested in too. So stick with me, folks, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and before I get into this, remember, Friday night at 9 o'clock, I'm going to have my first live stream. So I hope you'll all be there so I, have somebody to talk to and everything. And I hope it goes well. I don't know. We're working on it, trying to get all the bugs worked out ahead of time, but we'll see how it goes, all right? Hopefully, I'll see you there. We're going to talk about 9/11 a little bit and also some of the news of the day. So I hope you can be there and you'll help us along with our discussion and everything. Anyway, let's get going on Lin Wood. If you're not familiar with Lin Wood, he is the one who was the lawyer for Nick Sandmann. And Nick Sandmann was the young man from Covington Catholic who was targeted because of his MAGA hat. And he just stood there while this Native American man came up to him and got in his face and started beating a drum and just kept beating the drum. And Nick just kept smiling and he tried not to cause any problems. And then his life was made horribly miserable by the left. And of course, they won that case against CNN, I believe it was. That was the first one. And they had another settlement too, I think, but I can't remember who that was with. Maybe Washington Post or something. But they've been trying to go after several. Lin's been doing a great job. He's one of our frontline warriors. This is something that I was thinking about the other day, that when I look at this, I see that this is a battle for our country. And I also see that there are lots of frontline people that are stepping up. One of the incredible things about it is it's showing all the different gifts that people have been given, and they're starting to use them. They're coming together to help our country get back on track. And I think it's just really incredible when I look at that and I see the diversity of gifts that God has given people. And this man has a gift for being a lawyer. Now, I'm not real fond of the legal profession, honestly. I don't know too many good lawyers. But this guy, he's one of the white hats, that's for sure. And, these days, being a white hat comes at a price. So we're going to talk about him. And if you want to go through and just look at his feed, I just spent time reading his feed because he has so much in there. But I'm going to, show some of the things that I came up with as I was going through. Some of it you may know, some of it you may not. Well, first of all, this was something that I just found tonight that if you remember, this Marjorie Taylor Greene won the primary for Congress, and since she's in a Republican district, she most likely will be going, but they were all bent out of shape because, she follows Mr. 17. And, no, she's going to be dangerous. Okay, so what does Twitter do? Twitter suspended her. Can you believe that? They locked her out of her account, and this is somebody who is in a primary for being a member of Congress. How can you stop them right now when she should be campaigning for November? This is definitely election meddling here. Definitely. And so he says, I represent Marjorie. Twitter is trying to wear me down. No worries. I am strong. So is Marjorie. Follow her. And he puts hashtag fight back. And that was on September 8th. And we're going to talk more about that hashtag in just a minute. But let's go on some other things that are going on here. First of all, he says, Todd McMurtry and I are busy, but there is always time to achieve more justice for Nick Sandmann. So like I said, ACLU will be added to to-do list along with Twitter. CNN and WAPO have settled. Yeah, WAPO was the other one. Cases against NBC, ABC, CBS, Rolling Stone, Gannett, and New York Times are filed and pending. So see, he's a busy guy. But he was saying this in response to this post by Jonathan Turley, because the ACLU's Craig Shaw alerted people that Nick Sandmann would be attending the college and expressing outrage that the school would admit someone with his opposing views. He warns that this kid is dangerous and has no intention to learn. Can you believe that? I mean, this kid just wants to go to school. So really, the money that he's getting out of these settlements, I'm telling you, he really deserves it, because his entire life is going to be colored by that one incident that he was totally innocent in, but that these members of the media blew up, and they seem to have no accountability for it except for the lawsuits. And I'm so glad that Lin Wood is taking up these lawsuits. Well, unfortunately, you know what happens when you're a white hat? The lawsuits come back at you. And that's exactly what's happening. So, they say this is trying to catch you, but he is a Christian man. And, for those of us who are Christians, sometimes God does direct what we're doing. So, yeah, God Almighty can direct our actions. That's a very common belief among Christians. So I don't know why they think that's salacious enough to be a headline, but they do. And so down here, the deal is they have some attorneys that worked for him. And I don't know exactly the situation, between them, but something came up. And these attorneys now have decided to sue Lin Wood. So they're taking him to court. And here's what it says. The attorneys allege that they left the firm in February because of Wood's erratic, abusive, and unprofessional behavior. That alleged behavior included incoherent phone calls and emails from Wood, the lawsuit says. You know what this sounds like to me? Sounds an awful lot like the people trying to say that POTUS said those things about veterans, It's just, no. I'm having a hard time believing this. Maybe it's true, but I think they've blown this up. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, this is his statement on it. He says, I'm fighting for Nicholas Sandmann, Kyle Rittenhouse. Look at all the people that he's representing. Carter Page, Simone Gold, Mark and Patty McCloskey. They're the two that were standing on their porch trying to hold back the mob with their guns. And that's just an insanity there. And others, including my followers. Now, the reason he says followers is because he knows a lot of us are getting blocked. After posting my statement below, I will focus on my efforts for others. My attorneys and that's his attorneys, will deal with the frivolous lawsuit. So he calls it a frivolous lawsuit. Here is his statement. He says, I am deeply disappointed and saddened that 3 young lawyers I mentored and involved in some of my cases in recent years have chosen to file a frivolous and unnecessary lawsuit against me and my law firm. Adding insult to injury, these young lawyers have chosen to willingly engage in a disgraceful and unprofessional effort to publicly attack me by including irrelevant, out-of-context private messages I sent to them in the midst of a difficult time in my personal life, arising primarily from my family's reaction to my faith in Jesus Christ. In an effort to help them professionally and personally, I sought the assistance of these lawyers, who had their own professional corporations, in high-profile cases which their firms would never have been hired to handle on their own, cases which, out of my generosity, made them very wealthy. Now, in a shakedown effort to coerce me to do what I believe the ethical rules of my profession prohibit, they manipulate and ignore truth to try to force me, without my client's consent, to pay their separate law firms an unreasonable portion of my earned fee, while repeatedly refusing to provide to the client any proof of the work they claim to have performed on the case. I strongly believe that when disagreements over fees arise, lawyers owe it to themselves, their clients, the legal profession, and the public to attempt to resolve them privately and in good faith. This duty is heightened at a time when our nation and the judicial system is burdened with problems related to the COVID-19 virus and civil unrest. For those reasons, I offered to have an in-person settlement meeting with these young lawyers to mediate the dispute, or to submit the dispute to binding arbitration. They quickly rejected all of those proposals, opting instead to make this fee dispute public and to falsely sensationalize a straightforward business disagreement. They have done so with an intent to damage my professional reputation under the guise of the litigation privilege. I am ashamed of them. For over 43 years, I have never placed my personal interests over the interests of my clients, and I am not willing to do so now just to prevent their false innuendo and slanderous claims from being asserted in a court filing. I will not succumb to litigation intended to extort money from me. I have worked hard in many difficult cases over the course of my career to establish and maintain an unassailable record of integrity, honesty, and professionalism. My many clients, members of the judiciary, law school faculty members, friends, and the multitude of ethical lawyers who have known me and worked with me over the years will understand why, under these circumstances, I have no choice except to fight these frivolous claims and false accusations to the end. And so he's been putting several things up. He put this one up, New York Times v. Sullivan, should be reversed. Opinion was judicial legislation. All false speech which harms another should be actionable, regardless of whether victim is public or private figure. And this is, if you don't know about New York Times v. Sullivan, that is the case that allows the press to get away with saying such horrible things. And they just go, oops, we didn't mean it. And then they can't be sued for it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's incredibly ridiculous. It's kind of like the Section 230 for Facebook and Twitter and Google, you know? So it definitely something. But see, he put this fight back here too, the hashtag. And this was on September 6th. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So remember, September 6th, he had that. And then there's this one that where this Kevin Bennett says, they're going to kill you, Lin Wood, because look who all he's representing and he's winning. So he says, well, I have been receiving a few death threats lately, but no worries, Kevin. I have the gift of eternal life and the protection promised in Psalm 91. For added measure, I also have a number of Navy SEALs on my security team who are rumored to be very, very good at their jobs. I certainly hope so, sir, because you probably have a big target on you right now. And then he came up with this one. If you are a supporter of President Trump and you try to discuss possible options for treating COVID on CNN in an interview with Anderson Cooper, forget truth and fairness. Be prepared to be falsely attacked and insulted. Ask my new client, Mike Lindell. Stay tuned. That's the MyPillow guy. And hashtag fight back on September 7th. Okay? So he's picked up, another client here. He's just got a bunch of people that are conservatives that are being run roughshod over, or at least they're trying to, by the mainstream media and various other people. Well, he says this, and he says, productive planning day for Kyle Rittenhouse defense team. Also working on finalizing updated website for hashtag Fight Back Foundation, Inc. And more secure website for World of the Blocked and hashtag Fight Back t-shirts and caps. Anything of note happen in the world today? How is weather in California? So he put that up. All right, again, and that was on September 7th. Again, and then guess what? We get this, and this was on September 8th, about 1:48 in the afternoon, and hashtag fight back. So the hashtag was already being used before Mr. 17 said it. So I'm not sure, was it earlier? Did he say it anytime early? I don't recall that he did, but maybe he did and I just missed it. But I just thought I'd point that out to you because, that was when he pointed to this, and it was the Democrats together with the corrupt fake news media have launched a massive disinformation campaign, the likes of which has never been seen before. They will say anything, like their recent lies about me and the military, and hope that it sticks. But MAGA gets it. And so I'm kind of wondering if this was in reference to what's going on there with people like Lin Wood. And I also wanted to tell you that there is an organization that you may have heard of because there are some patriots who've been talking about it, and it's called the Transition Integrity Project. I'm going to talk more about that on Friday because I do have the document and I've gone through it, and there are some things in the document itself that I want to point out and some of the other information that goes with it. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about on Friday night. Like I said, I've just got a little bit more that I want to research on it before I actually do a video on it. So by Friday night, I'll have a lot of the details and everything, and I'll be able to give it to you in case you've already heard about it. It's really the blueprint for a coup against the president after the election. So we'll, like I said, talk about that later on. Anyway, so I wanted to also share this with you because this is what Lin Wood is talking about when he talks about his followers. It's stuff like this. Look at this. So President Trump retweeted a bunch of videos from this @AlwaysActions this morning. So Twitter took down their account. Who needs Russians when you have Twitter election interference? Yeah, so that's what happens. This is how Twitter is working right now. It's getting very serious. And not just Twitter, Facebook too. So I do want to let you know that was on the 7th that came out. So this is what's going on. And for those of you, again, I know there's a bunch of you that aren't on Twitter, and that's okay. I understand. But a lot of news goes out on Twitter. A lot of disinformation goes out on Twitter. And unfortunately, the people on the left seem to think that they own Twitter and that Twitter also represents what the entire country is, which is not true. Twitter does have a heavily younger crowd on it, usually. And because of that, there's an awful lot of lefties out there. And when they share stuff, it just goes ballistic. And this is one of the things that they're doing is they're putting out disinformation on Twitter. And it just goes like wildfire because the millennials will just pass it on without really even checking it. And so they assume everything they read on Twitter is true. This is why this is what I consider the front line of the battle right now is Twitter. I know a lot of people are going to Parlay or Parler, whatever. And I do have an account there, but I'm just not there very much. I drop in every once in a while. But the front line battle is right here, right now. I mean, I like the people over there, but I don't want to preach to the choir. I feel like I need to be here right now on Twitter because this is where news is disseminated very fast. And because of that, we need to make sure the truth is being put out there because there's an awful lot that's not. And when you tell the truth, this is what happens to you. So that's the way it works. And you do need to be aware that that's what's going on. Well, the last thing I have to share with you, this is kind of a short one, is this by James Woods. He's talking about Biden here, and he says, how did he know to start this mantra months in advance? Because this Joe Biden tweet is from October 25th of 2019. We are not prepared for a pandemic. Trump has rolled back progress President Obama and I made to strengthen global health security. We need leadership that builds public trust, focuses on real threats, and mobilizes the world to stop outbreaks before they reach our shores. And the Washington Post. None of these 195 countries, the U.S. included, is fully prepared for a pandemic. Timing. Timing is everything. That came out in October of last year. So, wonder how Joe Biden had his talking points all ready to go back then. Yep, that's what it is. So, now tonight's shout out is a little bit different because this is somebody you know, but their following is still kind of low. Yeah, Sara Carter. Believe it or not, Sara has a YouTube channel. It's fairly new. I think she's got 40-some videos already. But if you look at this, she only has 27,000 subscribers. So let's give her some Patriot love, you know? And I know that's not a typical small channel and everything, but she is still technically a small channel. So we need to see her kind of move up. She's got some really good, this one right here, this Luis Elizondo was about what the Pentagon knows about UFOs. That was a really good one. It was very interesting. So, yeah, she's got some good ones here. She doesn't have a ton of them at this point, but she does have some. So, she's putting out new ones all the time. I think probably she's got 6 days ago on these 3. So, I don't know how often she's going to put one out, but I think it's really good to follow patriots like this because she does an excellent job with her news. And remember, you click on the subscribe button and then you make sure that you put the bell on all, because if you get all notifications, then you will make sure to get hers when she puts one out. If you put it on the other, it's iffy and you never know what they're going to do. Little different patriot shout out here, but I think this is somebody that you might want to follow. So again, look over if that's somebody you want to, then subscribe and, tell her I said hi. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I want to remind you again, don't forget Friday night, okay? And I'll see y'all later.